okay, I have to talk about myself to raise the brand, but then I can use that to help other people. And I think people misunderstand my intentions behind it. I'm doing what I have to do to be able to do what I want to do.
Lawn is mowed and the dishwasher's empty and the bins are taken out and whatever, that's probably going to bring you closer to the guy, right?
Yeah,
and
100%.
And some men go to me, what? So I just take the bin out, then the missus wants to get with me more? Yes.
It's literally
categorically, yes, 100%.
If she comes downstairs in the morning, you've got the Hoover in your hand, she's going to be all over you.
Yeah, here we fucking go. Get the Henry out.
He just was a kind of bully that he thought if he shouted loud enough and caused enough of a nuisance that I'd pay him to go away, which I didn't. I just wrote a diss poem and he fucked off.
Welcome back to the A-Game Unfiltered podcast. In today's episode, we are going to be interviewing Leah Turner. Leah has set up a 7-figure business through her LinkedIn training and has now set up a fantastic community called The Halt for small business owners so they can grow at an affordable rate as well. If you're looking to learn how you can become successful while remaining true to yourself, this episode is for you. What do you do and why do you do it?
So at the moment, I'm still offering LinkedIn training for businesses and individuals to grow their personal brands and attract clients on LinkedIn. And I also run a membership community called The Halt, which has 600 small business owners, freelancers, solopreneurs, and side hustlers who want to grow their business and create a powerful network. They're sick of working on their own and they want that community around them, people that they can ask for advice. And we bring in masterclass hosts, experts in all different fields, all different parts of business, to give them accessible and affordable training to be able to improve how they run their business, but without having to fork out for course after course after course, or being able to pay professional fees that most of them can't afford yet.
Awesome. Why do you do it?
Because I'm good at it. I think 5 years ago when I started using LinkedIn, I thought the sum of my talents were typing really fast and being good at spelling. So I would type reports with my transcription business that I used to run. And then I came onto LinkedIn and realised I'm actually quite a good writer and I'm quite funny and I've got all these people following me and I'm really good at building communities and supporting people. And I kind of just followed my nose. I was like, oh, I'm quite good at that. I'll do a little bit more of that. And when I realised that I could actually make money from doing those things, I think I was naive. I didn't realise really what marketing was, or that I had a skill for marketing. And when I started surrounding myself with other people and realising that I was better at doing stuff than other people like me, I was like, oh, I could actually make some money from this. And I saw other people making money and I just followed my nose and then followed what I enjoyed of the things I was good at. I was like, this is the stuff I enjoy more. And that led me to the community, which is what I'm going full time on from the new year and stopping the LinkedIn training. So
interesting. Yeah. I think there's such a freeing thing about almost not knowing what to do, because then you don't know how to make the mistakes. I remember listening to Benjamin Dennehy, the guy that makes sales great again. Seeing his stuff. So maybe not a good response to that. Do you not like it?
He blocked me on LinkedIn.
Did he? Oh.
I don't know the guy at all, but obviously I'm very annoying on LinkedIn, so I know of him. I'm aware of him, but I don't see his stuff, no.
Oh, okay, cool. But anyway, they basically said that when most sales people start out, they don't know what they can't do.
Yeah.
So therefore they just, maybe do it through a wing and a prayer, or they get through charm or whatever. Then they start to learn the skills of what it is to sell. But then they start to get in their own head. And then he sees people that go like that straight away, absolute rocket for the first 6 months, smash it. Then about year 1, year 2, they start to struggle a bit, because then they start to question things and they start to get in their own head loads. And then once they eventually come out the other side, if they do, and they keep investing in themselves, they become a better salesman again. And I found that really interesting. So do you think it's a case of you didn't know what you couldn't do, and that's what helped you push it and test things?
Yeah, when I was at the agency Hackers in Ibiza a couple of weeks ago, Sophie Miller was talking about naive curiosity, and I love that phrase because I feel like my business has thrived because I'm really naive to what the world of business does. I never worked in corporate. I never worked in a great big company. I've always worked in little small companies. I worked in construction for years, and I didn't know their way of working. And I've always just gone, okay, well, I'll give it a go. But I don't want to know what everybody else is doing. I want to decide how I would do it, because I'm more likely to do it the way I know that I'd enjoy. So I'd create the team that I'd enjoy working on. I'll create a membership I'd want to be part of. I'll create LinkedIn training that I know would keep me engaged, and courses that if I tuned in, and I have bought other people's courses and gone, Jesus Christ, first half an hour is them wanging on about themselves and how great they are. I'm like, you've already got my money. I don't need to hear that. It's like, I don't want to know how other people are doing it. I want to do it my way. And that is absolute naivety, but it's meant I'm original. And so I think that's been the thing that's kept me going, is I want to learn loads of stuff. And then I learn it and I go, okay, I'm all right at this, and I can make it work, but I know that this person now that I've met can do it better than me. And I think that really helps, because I know I can get an idea of how long it's going to take based on if I can do it in 5 hours, I'm expecting a professional to be able to do it in 3. If it's going to take me a couple of days, it's going to take them less time. And if I can get results, I should expect them to get better results than I can get. So I think that's been I'm not afraid to like bring other people in, but I want to know how to do things myself first. But I'm not particularly good. I mean, finances, I've got a financial advisor, I've got an amazing accountant. Anything with numbers, count me out. It just doesn't interest me. My brain switches off. My financial advisor will tell you that. It's like, has to bring me baked goods to keep me interested.
You forgot with me a little bit, don't you?
Yeah,
it's hanging a croissant over my head. I'm like, no, I'm paying attention.
Yeah.
You do have to discover the things that you're good at and the things that you're not good at. And I would say most of the stuff I've given a go, I've become good at, because I'm determined like that. I'll just hyper focus all night and just be like, right, I'm going to learn how to build a website in Squarespace. I'm going to learn how to design a PDF and set up a lead magnet. But now I've got people that can do it for me, that do it faster, better, and I just pay them to do it instead.
That's it. But it sounds like you enjoy, it's the building of stuff, finding stuff out and enjoying it and getting into it.
And I think that's true for all of the best entrepreneurs that I witness. They'll give everything a go. They want to learn a base knowledge. It also makes you feel safer, because if ever someone lets you down, you can like do it yourself, unless it's my bookkeeping, in which case I'd be completely fucked. But like, I know if for some reason someone let me down, I could jump in and edit an urgent video, or I could jump in and fix a problem with my email automation if it ever came to it. Luckily, my team are really reliable, so it's very rare I have to these days, but knowing that I can back myself and rely on myself means that I'm more comfortable trusting other people, because I know there's a plan B if it all goes wrong.
Yeah. You have to have a base knowledge, understanding of something, because otherwise you don't know if it's shit. Yeah. And that's the thing, and just outsourcing. How do you know if they're any good? Oh, well, they've got a few good recommendations, but we see these enormous LinkedIn pods, and for people that don't know what they are, essentially they're just a air quote community of people that are just liking and commenting on each other's shit to grow their brands, air quote, or their following, which then you get the perception that they're really good at what they do. You see quite a lot of that.
I see a lot of it. In fact, I had a conversation yesterday with Chris Lomas, who is the founder of Hope For, which is the charity I'm on the board with. Yeah. He popped it in to see me at home because he happened to be in Manchester yesterday. It was a lovely surprise visit. And he was saying about this person that engages regularly with his content. He was saying, but his content, his videos, his posts are getting all this engagement. I said, yeah, but look at the comments. And it was all AI. And it was all like, and I don't want to be stereotypical, but there's a certain area of the world where a lot of these AI comments are coming from, and accounts from people in those places. And they're just repeating the post back to you, taking lines out of the post and saying it back, tagging you in it, using lots of emojis. And you're just like, yeah, but that's not a genuine comment. They've just added your name to an AI service that will automatically. And I found it, I had one few week period where 10 minutes, exactly 10 minutes after I would post, 3 people would show up in my comments at exactly the same time with almost identical comments. So I messaged all of them. I said, whatever AI program you've put my name into, take it out or I'm blocking you, because I was sick and tired of seeing it, because I'm wasting my time reading a comment that's not from this person. So why should I do? I want to engage with people, not machines. And people see it as like a shortcut. But actually, if people are savvy and they can see that you're doing that, you just look lazy and it's bad for your brand, not good for it. My point was that Chris was comparing his own content performance to this person who wasn't doing it legitimately. And I said, but Chris, your content is engaged with real people. Those 50 likes are from actual humans that love what you do. Those 30 comments are from genuine supporters. That person, those people don't care about that person's content whatsoever. They're just trying to get seen.
But it's also how many of those are converting into sales calls or converting into business. Because we've seen this, haven't we, with our business coaching, where it was a well, he didn't sign up to the program, but he was getting a lot of comments, a lot of likes. It's like, seem to be getting a lot of engagement. We could see by looking, these are bots, these. But are those converting? No.
I mean, this is a conversation that I'm sure Lewis would go to town on, Lewis Kemp, but there is a particular well-known person on LinkedIn who's got a very big following now, who a year ago was in mine and Lewis's DMs saying, how am I going to grow my following? I'm only at 60,000. I really want to grow it so I can do this, that and the other. He's now at 880,000 followers on LinkedIn in a year. Wow. Every post gets thousands and thousands of reactions, hundreds of reshares, hundreds of comments, but they're not real. Yeah. Like, they're all fake accounts, fake people. And when LinkedIn did the purge a couple of years ago, maybe 18 months ago, where they deleted a load of like hibernated or unused accounts and bot followers, I lost like 16,000 followers. One person that I know went from 220,000 followers to 40,000. Whoa. And they were all bots and fake accounts. Oh my God. And you can't control it if they follow you, but he'd been using.
That's like 2 Old Traffords. I mean, that's mental. Yeah. Is that your capacity of Old
Smith
Trafford?
Likes to do analogies.
That's
right. Yeah, but when you try and like put that together, I'm a fairly regular visitor to Old Trafford, so I know it's wild.
Because I remember when Alex Hormozy was talking about this, and he said, when people go, I only got 500 impressions, and I know impressions aren't reading the whole post and whatever, but let's say you remove impressions and you said likes. If you had 50 likes, if you had 50 people turn up to your talk, you'd be absolutely buzzing. Yeah. And people are going, I've only got, maybe celebrate it and maybe go, holy shit, I've got 50 people that like this content.
I say that to people in my community. They're, my LinkedIn impressions have gone down, blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, but imagine if you walked into a networking event, got up on stage and had a captive audience of 150 people that have read and engaged, paid attention to what you've said. That's huge. Now, I know you might not particularly be able to control exactly who, but that's why you need to be careful with who you have in your network. And there's so many people that will just accept anyone into their connections, thinking, okay, you can't control who follows you, and without blocking someone, you can't stop them from following you. It's not like Instagram where you can remove them. Wish it was. But if you are careful with who you admit into your first degree connections, you know that you're getting relevant views from relevant people, especially if you're then calculated in how you're engaging in return with them and you're starting conversations in DMs. People get so preoccupied with how many, and actually it's so much more important the depth of the connection that you're creating with people. And I'm seeing this is really obvious to me, and there's a lot of people really like starting communities at the moment. It's a big thing. I'm getting a lot of requests for like help and support, because obviously I've grown one very quickly in 2 years. And lots of people are like, I want to start a community. They think it's a quick way of making money. They're just going to start a community and all these people are going to flood in because they've got 20, 30,000 followers on LinkedIn and think, they're all going to want to be part of my community. Like, yeah, but is that a community or are they just followers? Do they actually care? Do they actually respect you? Do they actually want to spend money to be in your inner circle? And the answer to the majority of them, as much as it might hurt their ego, is no, they don't. Because that person's not spent, and it's very different for me. And quite often I say to people, this isn't a community idea. This is not going to work for you. They'll have paid me money, and I turn around and say, well, let's think about this, and this. I'm not sure that this is the right time, but I spent 2 years pouring into my LinkedIn community, supporting as many people as possible, raising my brand and authority, but not just shouting at a room full of people and fucking off. I was there in the comments, supporting other people and really pouring hours and hours and hours into it. So when I launched a community, I already had a community, but I was making a more private opportunity. I think that's a big differentiation with people on LinkedIn is, do you have a community or do you have a following? And they're very different in terms of, can you monetize it in a community sense? Because most people won't be able to, and they're trying and failing and wondering where they went wrong.
Where does that drive come from to keep pushing yourself. Because I think because things have pivoted a little bit over the years, haven't they? You're starting to move away from the high ticket stuff, focusing more on the community. And where does that drive come from?
Oh, it sounds so cliche, but for me, I get joy from helping people. And I was, at the beginning of my journey, I was on low income, right? 2019, I saw my financial advisor sent it to me recently, like what my earnings were in 2019. It was £17,500 in the whole, and I was working like 40 to 60 hour weeks every week doing transcription, which was really hard because I've got ADHD and I know that now, so no wonder it took me so long to do it. But then I started making money. When I started doing the LinkedIn training, I was like, oh, okay, 6-figure business, 10 months. Holy shit, this is a life-changing situation for me and my son. And so it's not really the drive to make money. It's more the excitement of being able to make money. I see money more like, it sounds, I don't mean this in like an entitled, privileged way, but I've never had money. So I'm not a big spender. I don't go spending loads on lavish holidays. Like I still travel the same way I did before I had money. But for me, it's like game points. I'm like, oh, I'm good at this game. Let's do more. I got more points. Now what do I do with them? And that's when Ian comes in and goes, well, we need to invest this and add some to your pension and all that. I'm like, okay, cool. You deal with that. I'm just going to do the making the points thing. So for me, it's fun and it shows that I'm good at something. So it's like that validation, you're getting the money. But the high ticket thing didn't, as much as it was very nice to have $2,500 for a 3-hour like chat with someone, that's really energy draining, and traveling to do corporates took me away from my son. And actually I'm moving to a model where it's not based on my time in exchange for money. It's recurring revenue, and I can be in the community an hour or 2 hours a day and I still make the same amount of money at the end of each month. So I think for me, the high ticket's great and it's fun and it's exciting to feel like people will pay that much money to be with me. But really, it's the people at the beginning, like I was, when I wasn't earning much and I was struggling, that I want to help more. Yeah. And for the membership, £50 a month is affordable to most small businesses for what they get. And that feels so much better to be able to help people that really, really need the help to level up, to be able to change their life the way I've done.
Yeah. Just sits right in here, doesn't it, for you?
Yeah. Just feels more purposeful.
It's interesting you said about the travelling and being away from your son and stuff, because there's a guy called Dean Graciosi, quite big in America, and he's like Tony Robbins' right-hand man for a lot of projects that they do. But there's one grid that he had, and it was the amount of money, it was the amount of fulfillment, and then it was the amount of time away from family. And he said, and they had to add up in his mind. I can't remember the convoluted equation that he came up with, but essentially, does it tick those boxes? Because it might be the money is like outrageous and it's big enough to draw me away from your son for a day perhaps, but is it big enough to draw you away for 3 days? And you might go, no. Is it big enough because it's a fulfillment piece? Actually, yes. So I know it's gonna be 3 days away from my son, however, it's going to give me a big paycheck and it's also going to make me feel great about doing it. So it's just bringing in that little framework. We've kind of done that with certain corporate businesses where we're like, the retainer offer is large, however, we might have to travel to, I don't know, there was one example where I have to travel to Newcastle, which is 2 hours away. So it's far enough each time to go. And we're like, we have to do that twice. And then we had another one where it was only in Leeds, but we were there all day. And it was 2 days a month. And we're like, and the fulfillment evaporated because we didn't like talking to them. So we're like, so the money after a while does become null and void. And I think a lot of people get that wrong. And similar to what you just said there, it's not position of privilege and saying, okay for you, it's all right for you. It's like, no, you get the money because you put in those boundaries, because you know your worth, not the other way around. It's not that now we have the money we can say that. It's because we did that, now we've got the money.
And my priorities switched quite a lot with the membership community now making as much as it does with 600 members in there. And I've got the Vault as well, which is like the light membership with no like chat. So that's another form of sort of membership subscription fees that I'm getting every month. I'm making more than enough money from those to not have to do the LinkedIn training and to not take on speaking events that I don't want to travel to. And like, I don't need to generate leads for my LinkedIn training anymore. So I'm feeling a lot more secure in saying no to things, because I'm like, well, doesn't really matter, does it? Because the whole pays all my bills, covers everything. I don't need to be making loads extra if I don't want to. So it enabled me to take my son's off for like 9 weeks over the summer. So I just took I didn't do any LinkedIn training pretty much the entire time. I just said no to it all. And then I got back from it and went, I don't really want to keep doing this anyway. Like I'm not going to book much in before Christmas. I'll do a few here and there if I really like the people, but I'm not going to say yes to anything that I don't want to do. And it's having that backup. I never would have done this. Like 3 years ago, I never would have said no to stuff. I would have just been like, yes, I want to make all the money like a dragon hoarding treasure. But now knowing that I've got the membership community, that recurring revenue every month, I'm a lot more blasé about, what's an extra $5,000? Don't need it. I've got enough to pay my bills and probably not going to see it anyway because I take as much as I can of dividends without hitting the 40% tax bracket. I don't take any more.
No, it does make sense. So there's a thing I saw a little while ago on a different podcast. They refer to it as almost like a happiness and financial curve. So they had this big study across X amount of thousand people that earn just below it and just over it and whatever. And it was around £72,500.
I think I saw this, yeah.
Really interesting. But the premise of it is that if you hit that bracket, you don't have to, by and large, unless you have like fucking 8 kids, you will not want for anything at the base level. You've got the house, you've got the car, you've got food on your table, you've got your heating on, you can maybe go on a holiday once a year.
Yeah.
That curve, cool. But after that, it almost becomes null and void. So even if you earn 140,000, you won't be happier than when you could have the 72.5. I think it was something like that anyway. I might be butchering it slightly, but that's essentially in essence that once you get past that threshold, you don't want for anything. So anything after that is just extra. And I found that really insightful because we do speak to a lot of people like yourself that are earning good livings and what have you. Now, not in terms of the financial figure because it's none of my business, but at what point did you get to in your mind where you're just like, I'm accepting that I don't want to do this because it no longer serves me and I just want to focus on the passion? Was it a certain figure? Again, not asking what it is, or was it more just a mental thing for you?
I think it was actually when I bought my house. So I saved up during COVID for 2 years. And like when I first started doing the LinkedIn training, I started saving up thinking, I'm finally going to get out of the rental market. Because I had a 5-year-old son at that point, and we lived in about 5 different houses. And it wasn't because I'm a terrible tenant. It was, someone had sold a house, the boiler broke and the landlord wouldn't fix it. And so we had all sorts of issues. There was never any security. So I wanted to buy a house. I wanted to set down some roots. I wanted to be able to do a house up and make it a home and feel like I'm not going to have to leave this place unless obviously I choose to, or get really rich and buy an even bigger house. But that point made me go, as long as I can pay all the bills and I can pay for the renovations that I want, and I've got my son in a nice school, and I got a nice car on the business, not an ostentatious car, but a car far nicer than I had. I could afford a couple of holidays a year. Like, what actually more do I need? I've gone from literally in like fighting back tears at the checkout because I had to put things back because I couldn't afford it all because it was coming to the end of the month and I wasn't making much money, or the benefits had run out, to like never even having to check the price of something in a supermarket. That for me was it. I was like, wow. I'm not upset that it's my son's birthday and I'm not worrying that I can't afford to buy him the things that he asks for. I can get him the latest Man United kit, and I can do the things that I've never thought I'd be able to do. And I think I see a lot of people who have come from very little and they've made money, but they're so obsessed with more. And they're never satisfied, and they're constantly looking at the people ahead of them and going, I want to be rich, I want to have the yacht, I want to have several properties, I want to be able to buy the supercar. And I'm like, I've got way more than I ever expected. I used to think, oh wow, if I ever had made 50 grand a year, like wow, because I'd never had a salary more than 25 grand a year, even as employed. So the idea of making 50 grand a year, I was like, wow, that would be rich. I'd be rich if I did that. And now like I've had months where the business has taken that. So I think it just depends on the kind of mindset that you have. I'm not one of those people that looks at really rich people and go, oh, I wish I was like you. I'm like, I've got more than I ever hoped for, far more than anyone in my family's ever achieved financially. And that's enough.
Yeah, rich is so subjective as well, isn't it? You know, you can be rich in your family and you can be rich in your health. And I know lots of financially wealthy people that are extremely unhealthy. So,
and unhappy.
Exactly.
Like that's it. I wake up happy every morning with the dog on my lap and the cat next to me, and my son comes in and gives me a hug, and I can get up, make a coffee, drive the nice car to the private school, set my son off super happily, and I'm like, this is great. Like this is the best I could have ever hoped for. So now it's okay to slow down, and as long as I can maintain this level of life, I'm so happy.
Yeah, there's levels to everything. Like we said to someone who we're coaching at the moment, right, do you want enough money that you can go on a nice holiday? Or do you want enough money that you can go on a nice holiday and fly business class? Do you want to go somewhere, it's a nice holiday, fly business class and stay at the 5-star resort? Do you want to be able to fly privately to your nice resort? Do you want to be able to own the fucking resort? Like, we could keep going.
It's like, the island.
Yeah, like what level do you want to get to? When will it be enough of a ceiling for you? And honestly, what level of what you said, it'd be great if I could go on a holiday pretty much wherever I want. And if I could fly business, I could do that. Awesome. I'm happy to work towards that tax. I don't care, because it's not my life to live. But I want to lead you to your answer and find out why it's important for you. Because if it is the island and the jet and whatever, cool. But that is going to drastically alter the quality of your life short term. You're going to have to make lots of decisions in a different way. And I don't believe in sacrifice. I believe in choices. And you have to make some choices that might not align with what your value system is.
Yeah.
You know? So, It's
funny, actually, on that subject, a few years ago, an investor contacted me who I follow on LinkedIn, and we had a conversation, and he basically offered me the opportunity of a large investment for me to grow a LinkedIn agency. So I would train a load of other trainers, they'd offer training, they'd have VAs to run people's accounts for them, content creators. So basically you could come to me, we'd offer training for you, and then we'd put in a team to run your accounts for you.
Okay.
And it would be a growing startup who's like, look, you could do this, we could grow it really fast, you could exit it, we'd both make a load of money. And I went, yeah, but my son's 6. Like, that's going to be me 80 hours a week for the next 2 years, missing his childhood. I'm an only parent. I'm not missing out on, if not for 10 million, I wouldn't miss out on 2 years of my son's childhood. I can't get that back. And I said that to him. I said, and he has recently contacted me and said, you know, if you ever want to sell the whole, like, I want first refusal. And it's lovely to have someone who's got that kind of confidence in you and sees that you would be able to do that. But the idea of missing out on 2, I expect I'll have any more children. So for me, not that I don't want to, but I'm sort of getting to an age now where it's unlikely. But for me, the idea of missing out on 2 years I could never get back, I'd regret that forever. And I could wait a few more years and do that in 5 or 6 years when he's grown up if I wanted to.
Yeah, then what's the cost of that?
Yeah, that's it.
Anyway, at least.
Yeah.
Absolutely. When someone like yourself puts themselves out there on LinkedIn, smiling as I say that, and the success that you've had, that comes with downsides as well. So what challenges have you faced over the years as you've built this success and putting yourself out there?
I think one of the misconceptions people have about me is that I'm an extrovert and that I enjoy the attention. Anyone who's in my inner circle will know that I am, in big groups, very socially anxious. I'm absolutely fine when it's small groups, like private, it's sort of situations like this where I'm meeting new people, because I do that every day on Zoom calls. I'm meeting brand new people and I love that. But big groups I find really difficult. And I grew my presence on LinkedIn during lockdown, when I was safely at home. And then I started going out into the real world when lockdown lifted, and people recognized me and would stop me in the street, and I'd go to an event and be stopped by dozens of people that would almost, it sounds really cringe, but like they would treat me like a celebrity. They would want pictures with me. They'd talk about content that they'd read from me. Maybe they've never interacted. I had a lady approach me at an event in the bathrooms, and I was washing my hands after going to the toilet, and she, oh my God, Leah Turner. I was like, hi. And she's like really awkwardly like, this is weird because I don't know your name, but you know my name. And it's such a weird, that parasocial relationship is so strange.
Toilet self.
She said, I've never engaged with any of your content, but I've read everything you've ever written for the last 4 years. And this thing that you wrote really resonated with me, starts repeating my own post back to me. I didn't even remember the post she was talking about. I probably like hammered it out from bed in the morning before the school run. And it took me like 2 minutes. I couldn't remember what she was talking about. And I thought, this is strange. And actually the business model that I'm working on is so that I can navigate away from the social media spotlight, because I've never wanted that. It's why I don't do on stage speaking very often, because I don't enjoy the spotlight. And my friends know it takes a lot for me to actually push myself out there and do it. I will, because I like to step out of my comfort zone. It helps me, but it doesn't get easier. At the beginning, I don't really get it so much now, but I had a lot of negativity.
Like comments.
Yeah, comments, bitchy WhatsApp groups just to slag me off.
Been there.
I've had that.
Lots of troll comments. I had one guy try to extort money from me for 18 months, which was incredibly bizarre because he was claiming I was copying his content, and yet you could go through like the last several years of his content. There wasn't anything that he just was a kind of bully that he thought if he shouted loud enough and caused enough of a nuisance that I'd pay him to go away, which I didn't. I just wrote a diss poem and he fucked off eventually.
Are you on Reddit?
I've been featured on Reddit. Actually Reddit,
I don't know if I'm on there because Smith's found his, but I won't look.
Well,
I'm just not even going to look.
I could tell you a funny story about Reddit.
Go for it.
So the LinkedIn Lunatics channel on Reddit used to feature me quite heavily. They don't so much now. I've obviously fallen off their radar. I mean, that's probably just red rag to a bull now, and I'll be back on there. But in July, I performed at the Comedy Store in London. So I did a 20-minute set to a load of marketers, and I got paid for it quite a lot. And the content was me basically reading out the shit that they say about me on Reddit. So
quite easy.
So their troll comments and nastiness actually made me enough to buy an all-inclusive holiday to Mexico with my son for 10 days.
Thanks very much.
So I was just like,
cheers guys.
Keep it coming, I'll do another set. I could do another holiday.
Brilliant.
Lots of trolling. I did have one guy during lockdown that was sending me death threats. Videos recorded of himself threatening me. I've had
his face?
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he had some sort of mental health condition, because I've been around people with bipolar before, and it definitely came across like he wasn't quite okay. And it was actually escalated through LinkedIn's imminent threat department because he'd posted pictures of guns and said he was going to shoot anybody that was associated with me. And he was in New York. Luckily, obviously, there was no way he was going to get on a plane.
He's not going to come after us, is he?
No, but he sent videos of a woman screaming in a dark room saying, "This is going to be you. I know you live alone with your son," and all this like really quite terrifying stuff. And there's been people that have sent me suicide notes. So like, because I've talked quite openly and I'm, quite well known to be a fairly sort of kind and empathetic person, unless you're a knobhead to me. On 4 different occasions, I've had people tell me they want to kill themselves. And one of them came the day before Christmas, and I just arrived to visit my family, and she sent crying voice notes that she wanted to end her life. And I was like, I don't know what to do with this. I'm not a mental health professional. I don't wish to be a mental health professional. But obviously it set me into a massive panic. So it's difficult. The good outweighs the bad massively, but there's definitely been parts of it that I've had to go, and now my VA deals with anything like that comes through. I don't read it. He filters all my DMs before I see them.
Is that Luke?
Yeah, Luke Manton.
Yeah. I mean, we do joke about that. The only features we've ever had in magazines or whatever on online is LinkedIn lunatics taking the piss out of us, but yeah, we had the same. We've had WhatsApp chats taking the piss out of us with our business, and one person had the bollocks to leave and tell us about it and say, look, this is happening.
That's how I found out about it.
And I'm like, fucking hell. But do they still hurt, the comments?
No, because I just turn them into content and make more money from them.
I like it. It's recycling the pain.
I think that's probably why they don't attack me anymore.
It's true though. There's a guy called Tom Billieu. I've referenced this a few times in previous episodes. He's got big ears. Lisa's
husband. I follow Lisa on social media.
Yeah. He's got like Will Smith ears, doesn't he? Like stick out quite a bit. Yeah. And people go, "You've got big ears." And he goes, "And?"
So what?
That's the best fucking comeback ever, and
Someone
so simple.
told me I look like a human colouring book. I was like, I fucking know. I've paid a lot of money to look like this.
This was on purpose. I didn't wake up like this. Fucking hell, that'd be a bit worrying. But yeah, it was.
I've never heard that before. A human colouring book.
I mean, it's a fair comment. I do. It's absolutely fine.
Been called worse than a colouring book.
I've been called a whole lot worse.
Yeah, but I just, it's such a freeing thing. 'Cause it kind of goes back to the schoolyard bullying tactics, doesn't it? If you keep saying it over and over, and you go, yeah, I know I am, and they go, oh, shit, where do I go from here? Because that's what you've got. And a lot of the bullies online, I think if you've got the time and inclination to open up your laptop, type in Reddit, type in LinkedIn Lunatics, you've set up your own account, uploaded a picture of me just to comment on it. Fucking hell, who's winning?
Yeah,
who's winning in that
living
scenario?
rent-free in your head.
Yeah, so it is. I think it's the instantaneous response I have is like quite, oh shit, that's a bit much. But then it's detaching from it because I can't control it. But I think the things that don't hurt me, but the comments that, if it's someone questioning your professionalism or your knowledge or whatever, that they sort of resonate with me more.
Those ones hit me more than comments on my appearance, because I'm like, look, the way I look has played a big part in my ability to market myself the way I have, because I stand out and I don't look like other LinkedIn trainers or business people in general. So I've absolutely capitalized on that over the years, not in like an overly sexualized way, but in a, you know, using my face and my image as part of my brand. So I would like, for me, I'm just like, don't care. I probably am not going to fancy you person with no photo on social media, because it's always those, isn't it, that don't have a photo and have a fake name. But so that doesn't bother me. But I had a woman recently come at me saying I'm not a qualified trainer, and I was like, so do my clients get results? Do they pay me? Do they then get results? Yes. Do I need a piece of paper to say I am a qualified trainer? No, I don't need a piece of paper. And it just, you could tell it came from a place of envy. Like, she's a qualified trainer, but she's not getting the results that I'm getting, the popularity, the finances, whatever. And she just came at me in such a weird, snarky way that I was just like, I'm just gonna write a post about this. Not like targeting her personally. I'd blocked her because I'm not one of those people. I like a reasoned debate. I like a intellectual back and forth. But when someone's just being unnecessarily snarky or snide, I'm like, I don't have time for you. Like, I'm busy living my life and being happy and putting positivity out into the world. I'm just remove you from. It's not because I hate them. I think people take it really personally when they get blocked. It's not because I hate someone. It's just because I'm not enjoying my interaction with you. Therefore,
just disappears, doesn't it?
It disappears. It's great.
Out of sight, out of mind.
I see it. It's just words on a screen, and I've done this. You know, I mean, we're coaches, and this is more on Instagram, and I've followed people for years, and it's like I'm going to mute them. It's not that I don't like them. It's just the content they're putting out at the moment
doesn't interest me.
It's not. It's annoying me for some reason. It's my issue. I don't hate him. I'm just going to mute for a bit. And,
well, that's it. I can take it personally that people block me. I see like other pages where they've names blacked out and they've blocked me. I'm like, that's fine. I'm not for everyone. I'm not trying to please everyone. If you don't like me, you're never going to buy from me. So why does it matter if you've blocked me?
Yeah, it's the proverbial trash taking itself out. I don't mean about the people, but it's that like, you're a piece of shit if you don't like me. No, it's not like that.
I blocked back Gary Vee on LinkedIn, not because I don't like Gary Vee. I think Gary Vee is great, but his content is so much like it's always on my feed that I'm not seeing actual people that I can do business with. So I'm like, I can watch him on all these other channels. I don't have to have my newsfeed full of Gary Vee, because it's a lot of very similar content across channels, right? So it was nothing personal. If I met him, I'd still be thrilled to meet him, but it was just incessant. And I'm probably like that for people. If they're not following a lot of people and I'm putting out so much content, they're probably seeing me too much. I'd be annoyed seeing myself that much. I don't blame them.
No, it's 100%. There's two guys that I've unfollowed yesterday because there's this new
who
we want names.
I'll tell you after. There's this new craze that's happening, and they're appearing like rats. So I help founders get more clients on LinkedIn. Cool. Then he helps other people get clients on LinkedIn. then they help other people get clients on LinkedIn. Who's actually doing any fucking work? So, but then it's what I've seen is, because I've seen the posts every day, this one guy that works for him, this is 2 months ago, he was making, I made my first 2.5 grand. Now, suddenly, he's doing 20k months, which he isn't. Here's what I've learned after serving 100 clients in the last few... 100 clients? Fuck off. It's not 100 clients, is it?
I see this as well. So my 2 VAs, Danielle Carrigan and Luke Manton, I know all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. So obviously client stuff is totally private and they don't tell me necessarily who, because that would be breach of confidentiality. But I know that there are people on LinkedIn that are pretending that they're 6-figure founders that aren't paying their VAs bills on time.
Yeah.
And it's like,
mental.
Right, so you're skint basically. So you're not actually making all of this money at all, but you're using that to lie to people so they think you're successful when you're quibbling over. Well, I mean, it doesn't really give a fair reflection, does it, on company's house? But you can get an idea. But if they're quibbling over a £400 VA bill and they're having to stagger it in £50 monthly payments, and then they're telling everyone they're a 6-figure business owner, you're like, fuck off, are you?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But the reason why it annoys me, because I always ask myself, why am I getting irritated by this? Like, what insecurity of mine is showing up here, which I think is a really good question. And it wasn't that it was an insecurity, it was just, this is irritating me because this is going to pull the wool over the eyes of so many people.
Yeah.
And you're just going to mug off people that'll go, oh, okay, well, they're getting clients. But they're getting clients saying they're going to get clients. So it's always going to do well.
That's what bothers me about the pods. I do not care whatsoever if somebody decides to use a pod. But if they're using the results they get from the pod to market their own skills. So they're saying, I'm a LinkedIn trainer and look at how much engagement my posts get. I can help you do the same and it's going to get you clients. I'm like, but it's not, because you've faked those results. Those results are artificially inflated, and then you're using that as proof that you're good at what you do and selling people something that doesn't work. You're just going to add them to a pod and they don't get results because I know they don't get results because they come to me saying, I paid $6,000 for this course with this person. They put me in a pod that cost me an extra $200 a month and I didn't get a single client for 6 months at all because it didn't work. And then I came out of the pod and my metrics tanked. And then I felt shit about myself and completely demotivated to create content. And I'm then fixing it for them. And that's where I get annoyed with it. I really don't care if just the average Joe is using a pod. It's when they're using it to then sell a service that doesn't exist.
Yeah, have you heard of school.com? Alex Hormozy's invested in it. So we've got a thing on there. And because you're on there, your details are on there. Anyway, so I was on a client call the other week and my phone just went, I was like, right, okay, and it's like, fuck you now, what's going on? So I threw it across the room. I was like, I need to concentrate. School.com. And I thought, has Mayhew uploaded loads of stuff? No, some guy had added me into his LinkedIn pod group on School with 2,500 people in it. And he said, everybody welcome Adam to our group. And I was like, what the fuck? I didn't consent to this. He just added me in using my email.
Yeah.
My name.
Do that on School.
Yeah. So, and then it said, welcome Adam. Can't wait to see more of your content, Adam. I've just followed you, Adam. And I'm like, what the? It's like 30 odd notifications. Like, what the fuck is going on? So I messaged him and said, mate, I don't want to be a part of this. I didn't consent to this. I certainly don't want to be a part of a fake engagement pods. Oh, there's nothing fake about what we do. Of course there isn't, mate. No. So yeah, it's just it's very, like you said, it's very misleading, and I think that it's too easy nowadays to pull the wool over people's eyes. And because there are so many business owners that are neurodivergent, one of the tendencies, especially people with ADHD, I'm sure you can back this up, is the impulsivity. Not always, but with certain things, you can be very impulsive and you do things, you go, shit, what do I do that for? You're going to be basically preying on people that are, I don't want to say vulnerable, not everyone with ADHD is vulnerable, but you're preying on people that don't necessarily maybe know better, they've just started out, and as you said, oh, they're getting 500 likes a post, shit.
And we're also more prone to feeling rejected if we don't get engagement on our posts. Correct. And comparing ourselves to others. Yes. Which you are kind of preying on the vulnerabilities of people like that. I got named in a top 50 LinkedIn creators ranking thing, quite high up, and I was like, oh, bollocks to this, like another one of these shit that they just use for marketing purposes. Anyway, as a result of that, the guys that arranged this bullshit ranking added me to a group LinkedIn Messenger with all the other 50 people in this top thing to engage on each other's posts. And I just said, thanks so much for the recognition, but I don't do engagement by arrangement, so thanks very much, but I'm off. And I left it, and then they all I got a bunch of messages from the people that sort of started it, saying, oh no, we don't do that. I was like, it literally says this is what you do. And I'd like taken a screenshot, obviously, and left it immediately. But they couldn't believe that I'd reached what I've reached without ever doing that. Yeah. And to be fair, like, there's not many that have reached the number of followers on LinkedIn without some form of artificial boosting. I could probably name like a handful that I 100% would trust is completely genuine. And that's 50 of the top creators with 500,000+ followers. And that was where I got added. I was like, get me out of here. I don't want to be seen in this group.
I think there's probably one of them I've just been discussing, but what are some of the biggest mistakes you see business owners doing
on LinkedIn?
Yeah.
Or just in general. Yeah, the people that you speak to.
I mean, I think a lot of people overthink the idea of their content, and they forget that it's just a networking place. Like, the people that are doing LinkedIn really well tend to be the people that are treating it like a networking opportunity. So I grew up in my teens on chat rooms. I used to use like Yahoo AOL chat rooms as a teenager because I didn't sleep. So I was used to networking online. I was used to the banter and the back and forth and all of that. So for me, it came really naturally. Once I got over myself, you're not corporate and you don't fit in here, I was like, oh, actually, I can have a bit of fun. And so it was easy for me to get involved in the comments and relax with it. But people forget, like, I say to new people, imagine an empty conference center and you get the opportunity to invite who you want to come to that networking event. They're the people you're connecting with. And then you're going to work the room. You're going to get to know each other in the comment sections of your posts and their posts. And then when you get up on stage and say something like creating a post, they're going to pay attention to you because you've paid attention to them. And you've given them, and it's very reciprocal on LinkedIn. If people see you regularly showing up in their comments, they tend to stop when they see your content because they're interested in what you've said because you've shown them that interest. And you end up building this like little community of people that regularly engage without having to have an engagement pod. They're genuinely interested in what you're saying, not because they have to be. And it's almost like being able to stop by a networking event full of your ideal clients for 30 minutes every day after work, or from your sofa with a coffee and the dog on your lap in the morning. You can start networking with people that could change your life. And it's as easy as just opening an app and leaving a few comments. So I think overthinking their content, people think every post they have or they put out has to have some huge lesson. But actually, the majority of my content, while I do share like useful information, I've just been kind of documenting my journey over the last 5 years, from inexperienced transcriber, single mum, didn't have a clue what she was doing and made virtually no money, to someone with masses of followers that speaks on international my life has totally changed, but I've just let people in on the journey. So a great post on LinkedIn could just be a photo of you on the train with your coffee in the morning talking about the meeting that you're going to where are you going, who are you seeing, what's the meeting about, how are you feeling about it. Just document, because people want to work with people that they see are busy and other people are hiring. So it can just be as simple as journaling your experience. Not everything. We don't need to hear about your doctor's appointments and things like that necessarily.
But LinkedIn's a professional site. Sorry, I've seen those comments. LinkedIn professional. It's not Facebook.
I haven't seen those comments for ages. I wonder if I've just beat them into such submission that they just can't be asked with me anymore. But I haven't seen those on anybody's posts. I did have one recently. I saw a lady post that someone had said, you shouldn't be showing your shoulders, it's LinkedIn, it's not professional. I was like, my shoulders are always out. Shoulders, I know.
Oh, fucking hell.
Those enticing clavicles, put them away.
Get your lats out. Fucking hell, that's wild. So on that topic, what would you say one of or the biggest lessons or mistakes that you've made during your time as a business owner? Harshest one?
Do you know what? I don't really know. I don't feel like there's been any major mistakes. Like, I think I could have believed in myself sooner, because I was surrounded by other people that absolutely believed in me and saw my strengths and were constantly saying to me, but you're really good at this, you're really good at that. And even now, I was on the phone with Chris James this morning and he was like, no, you're underselling yourself now. And I still do it. But I think I was so nervous about going all in on anything and really like owning the things that I was good at. And I didn't want to, like, especially as a woman, you're kind of conditioned to be modest and be humble all the time. And I'm like, no, I'm fucking good at these things. There's loads of stuff that I'm terrible at, like a massive long list of things that I'm really, really awful at. But that's okay, because I just don't do those things to make money. And I don't do those in the public eye. I'll do those ones privately and fail privately. But I think not believing in myself, and also keeping the wrong people around me for too long, like people that were negative influences. Not necessarily that they were terrible and horrible to me or anything like that, but they brought negativity into my like zone of existence and distracted me from my annoyingly positive outlook on life most of the time. I'm not someone that says, oh, don't do that because, like, I listen to people that have got doubts and are worried about taking risks, where I'm like, no, go for it. Just take a risk. If it all goes wrong, you'll fix it. You always fix it, but give it a shot. And there was maybe too many naysayers and doubters around me for too long. And that was before all of this. Like, up until the age of 35 to 34, when I started on LinkedIn, I was surrounded by people that were always like, you'll never do this because of the way you look. You'll never get a job in corporate because of your tattoos. You haven't got a degree, so you can't do that. And they didn't mean it to hurt me, but I think it held me back for a very long time. And if I could go back and change anything in my life, it would have been to put myself around successful entrepreneurs way sooner, because I would have realised my strengths and my ambitions and my excitement and the thrill of business way sooner.
Yeah, we've started doing that more now, haven't we?
Yeah, 100%.
Just making a point of doing it. That's why we've come over to here, come over to Manchester to record, because there's not that there aren't successful people in Leeds, of course there are. It just, I don't know if it's the people that I follow, but there's just more like-minded individuals seems to be based
Partly
over
why
here.
I moved to Manchester as well. Yeah, I was excited by the sort of younger entrepreneurial startup excitement, and even when I go into the city, there's just an air of potential, like, and possibility, which I loved that about Brighton. I lived in Brighton in my 20s, and I loved the very artistic, creative vibe there. But it was a different kind of artistic and creative than what I want now. It was much more like music and art and theatre and all of that, whereas Manchester's like business creativity, and I love that, and it spurs me on. Even though I don't go into the city very often, but whenever I do, I'm like, the conversations are just different.
Yeah. Also as well, just on the mistakes, like, we've made a lot of mistakes in the past where we may have spent thousands of pounds on some email marketing thing, thousands, no return, which we say, when we're coaching our clients, whatever, we say it's a mistake, but also I just see it as in a lesson.
Yeah.
Stupid tax.
Yeah. What did I learn from that? Next time we need to do a bit more research, we need to ask more questions, and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, we looked at it, we did speak about it for a while afterwards, like, fuck me, we spent thousands on that. Like,
I've definitely done that. Definitely like engaged the wrong services and gone, that was a lot of money for something that I really didn't need, or that I really didn't benefit from as much as they told me I would. And so yeah, I wouldn't want to throw anyone under the bus, but it's definitely unwise decisions that I've invested in.
Yeah, we're following your footsteps around all things email and stuff, because we're about to work with Alex.
Are you?
Yeah.
Did you get that referral from me?
It's just from I just.
If you did, I get some money. So,
oh dear.
So you did.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Alex, if you're listening.
We saw the results that yourself had posted. There was someone else, and he posted on his page about how he'd helped you. And there was one comment that you said underneath his post that really resonated. It was just, if I could hire you twice, I would. And I thought,
well, I technically have, because he works for both of my businesses.
Yeah. Like that was like a really glowing reference. Obviously, I know that you won't hire anyone that's shit, because you don't have to, because you're not in a position.
No, and I tested the water with Alex because we did a launch. Now, I know how to launch with communities and with with my digital course, because I'd done it before and I'd launched a digital course before, but I knew that Alex did it really, really well. So I arranged for him to launch my digital course, and we did like 24 grand in the first, 36 hours or something. And I was like, boom.
This has worked, yeah.
This is great. And then I was in the Seychelles on a retreat with him where I was delivering a workshop in March, and he was one of the attendees. And we got to know each other better. And we'd met a whole bunch of times anyway, got on really, really well. But the Seychelles, I was like, we're definitely going to be working more together. And then he started doing the launches for my Holt community every single month, and he does all my newsletters, and he just basically, I don't even see the emails until they show up in my email box. Like he doesn't guide me through everything. I'm like, oh, that's a good one today. Look how smart I am. And he takes like my content and just elaborates on it, or an idea that I've got, and then turns that into an email. And it's amazing because he's so good at it, and he embodies my tone of voice. Like, no one realizes, even though I talk constantly and openly about working with him, people still think it's me that's writing the emails. So that's how good he is.
Yeah. You're ruining the mystique now. No,
everyone will forget when they get the next email.
What I said there when I said that comment, I was like, was it you? Was it Luke? I'm joking.
Oh no, I do all my own comments.
No, it's like when, equally, I think people need to just have a different mindset around this. Like when you go to McDonald's, it's not fucking Ronald back there flipping your burgers. I'm sure it'll be fine. So
the emails are somebody else. But whenever anyone sees any content or comments on my accounts, my Instagram, my LinkedIn, that's always me. 100% me.
No, it's good, that.
And if anyone's DMing me on LinkedIn, Luke identifies himself when he responds. He doesn't pretend to be me.
It's good that though, because it's that authenticity, and that's the next point I was going to get to, because we're just stroking Leah's dog under the camera. It's not me being weird or fiddling with myself.
Just go on our YouTube channel and be like,
what's he do with his hand? I think it's essential. There's this whole debate around authenticity. What is authentic? What isn't? But what would you say, because you do put yourself out there and you're very, very open, which is great. What do people still misunderstand about you? Other than the fact you're not as introverted as they think.
I think one of the things people who don't maybe read my content properly or don't know me is they'll think that my content's like self-absorbed, because I talk about like myself and my experiences a lot. But there's me, the real person, and then there's the brand version of me. And the real person knows that it's her job to sell the brand. So I don't talk about everything in my life. I very rarely touch on things like relationships. I don't really talk about my family beyond my son, the like tiny little touches. I don't talk about my friends that I know that are outside of LinkedIn, because it's not my place to talk about those things, and especially when I'm bringing other people into it. So it looks like I've only got friends that are from LinkedIn, but that's obviously not true. It's just I wouldn't want to put them under the spotlight, because it's my life. It's not for me to be sharing theirs. And actually the content that I create, and the people who do get it, know that me documenting my journey, me talking about my experiences, I'm behind the scenes getting millions of messages from people saying, I really love that you talked about that, because that's how I feel. That's made me feel more confident to do this. I went to work with my tattoos out this week, and actually no one said anything, and I've been like all these lovely little messages that I get from people on a regular basis. And it 100%, if you don't know me and you don't know my heart and you've not followed the journey, it can come across like, bloody hell, this woman's always talking about herself. But Leah Turner is the brand, and she is the thing. It's my job to market, and so I pick the most marketable aspects of that person, and I talk about those things. But if you've got the real me, like in a conversation in person, like I wouldn't be and that's why I find speaking events a real challenge. I don't like to be in that spotlight all the time. So I just know that this is how I make money. This is how I support my lifestyle, my son, and I can't stop it. But I try to use my brand, knowing that my brand gets a lot of attention, and Leah Turner, the brand, gets a lot of attention. I know what to double down on to increase visibility, but then I can use that visibility to help other people. So when I post about Alex Thompson doing my email marketing, people like you hire him. And so his business grows, and people hire my VAs because I talk about working with them, and my tech team, because I talk about working, they donate to the charities that I've put under the spotlight. And it's like, okay, I have to talk about myself to raise the brand, but then I can use that to help other people. And I think people misunderstand my intentions behind it. I'm doing what I have to do to be able to do what I want to do.
Out of all the content you post, I looked through some of it last night, and there was a couple of posts that really struck a chord with me. One was quite shocking, I have to be honest.
Uh-oh.
It was not in like that way. It was a picture from your son's football match.
Oh, yeah.
A few weeks ago, and they had a minute's silence for a 12-year-old that had taken their own life.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
That was... Because I say this loosely, I nearly took my own life about 7 years ago, and I hit my version of rock bottom. So whenever I see posts like this, I don't like to use the word triggered. I think it can sometimes get a bit overused, but it certainly resonated, because I was like, 12 years old, the poor little sod. Like,
yeah.
Jeez.
What happened there? Do you know much about it? Like,
I don't know the details, but we were told by the coach that we were having a minute's silence for it, and it was a lad that was in the news, and I think all of the football teams in the country that were playing that day all did the same, or certainly all in that northern region. I think that was where he was from. But that post for me, like, I just wrote it in the moment, because the picture that I took it made me just go, shit, these kids don't really understand it. They're 8 and 9. Yeah. They don't really get what they're doing this for, but they all had their arms around each other, and the coach has sort of said, it was for a little boy who died, but we all knew how he died, and that it had been a mental health struggle, and it was just the idea of a 12-year-old going through that just proper kicked us all in the guts. But I wanted to use it not to upset people, but to open the conversation with other people about what we can all do. And so if you go through the comments on that post, there's some really, really great insight from like mental health professionals, therapeutic professionals, on how you can safeguard your own kids, and the conversations that you can have, and tools and books and videos and resources that you can tap into to help avoid those things. Because as a mum to a boy, that's my biggest fear. I don't fear drugs or him knocking a teenage girl up, or I fear his mental health. I struggled with my mental health severely over the years, at points, very, very dark places. And the idea that, and I know my mum was helpless when I was going through those things as a teenager, and that scares me more than anything. And so I just thought, we could use this tragedy as a moment to learn from each other and find some ideas to avoid any of us experiencing that. And it worked. I mean, some of the comments were amazing. I couldn't go through all of them, because it was some of the stories and things like that were quite upsetting, but there were some really great ideas in that. So I've definitely been having more open conversations and asking my son even more, about feelings and things like that since that post. And I hope other people took some really good positive stuff from it as well. Yeah.
Do you think that's that's like doing more, having more conversations? Because it's frightening, really, because when we think of suicide, it's usually men in their 40s. That's the bracket. And then when you hear a 12-year-old's done it, you're like, fuck. 12.
Yeah.
So do you think it is more that having more conversations?
I mean, I'm not a mental health professional, but from what I understand, a lot of the problems that come to men in their 40s that results in things like this is their lack of support and safe spaces to talk about the things that help them process what they're feeling. And if you keep all of your emotions bottled up inside and they never have an outlet, they'll eventually take their toll, whether that's physical health or mental health, or how it impacts the people around you, and then you lose them and then everything spirals. So I think allowing, especially boys, but everybody, a space to have an opportunity to speak about how they feel, and normalizing it with my son. It's okay if you cry. He's a tough kid, he'll take a knock at football, get straight back up. He dives all over the place. He's not worried about hurting himself, but he's a mummy's boy. Like, he's full of hugs and kisses and affection for me, and he knows that he can talk about things. But even now, I'll say to him, "Are you okay?" And he'll say, and he just won't talk. He won't really open up. And I'll say, "Are you sad?" It's like, Yeah. Like, well, what's making you sad? And he doesn't know. He can't necessarily, and now he's neurodivergent, but I know that my biggest struggles with mental health have been when I haven't felt like I'm able to process the things that I'm feeling. And even now, sometimes I don't. So I wonder if, I don't know that that's the answer, but I think it's a help, at least knowing that there are people that you can speak to try and make sense of those emotions so that they don't all build up and then cause bigger problems down the line.
Yeah, I mean, we've just hosted a men's retreat last weekend, not the one just gone, the one before, and average age was probably about 44, give or take. Yeah. We're actually interviewing somebody after you who was one of the attendees, and a lot of them are emotionally stunted. It's not that they lack emotional intelligence, it's that they were never allowed to feel because they were judged or they were fixed, and they were told to toughen up, man up, it's going to be fine, mate, there's plenty more fish in the sea, you're overreacting,
have a drink, mate, you'll be all right.
Yeah, just come out tonight, it'll be all right, you know, because when didn't pouring loads of alcohol down your throat solve all your problems, of course, you know, that great tactic. And but it all starts from the young age. So we did a lot of work with them around healing the boy, as it works. If you heal the boy, then the man can eventually appear, and the suppressed anger and frustration and just trauma as well that they'd carried around like a dead weight for about 35, 40 years. You know, we got some of the feedback from it, and one of the guys said, I've learned more about myself in the last 3 days than I have in the last 35 years. And that's harrowing. It's great that we could hold that space for them and facilitate that change and the growth, but equally to know that they have suffered in silence for that long, holy shit. And it's the work that, you know, we want to do as much as we can with helping the men, but then they can help their kids, and then they can help their kids.
And there's something really powerful about having groups of men that can be vulnerable together, because it gives them so much more. And it's the same with anyone, right? We're like that with our friends. We see our friends and we can talk about the things that we're not comfortable talking about anyway. But there's so much loneliness, and you know, that ties into why I created the Halt. There's all these people starting businesses, leaving their jobs where they're surrounded by people all the time, and they have something to get up to and go to every day, and they're suddenly working on their own, and they're isolated and they're lonely. And I know that because I'm the same. I'm a solo parent that works from home most of the time, and I started coming into a co-working space because I didn't want to be, not that I want to sit and chat to everybody all day, I just don't want to be in a room on my own. And men are so isolated so much of the time, even when they're surrounded by people. If they're not people that they can open up to and be vulnerable with, are they really surrounded, like they're not surrounded by the right people? Not that you want that all the time, but there needs to be someone that you can be vulnerable with. And especially if you're in a relationship with somebody who doesn't allow you that space. And that happens a lot. I know there's a lot of, you know, relationships where the woman expects the man to be manly, the provider, and not to open up and cry. And that's not healthy either. If the person that you trust and love more than anyone in the world, you can't talk about the things that are making life difficult without being yelled at or creating a drama or them feeling rejected or whatever it is. Everybody needs those safe spaces to be the vulnerable person, the fragile person that we all are inside a little bit. Some of us hide it better than others, but there's fragility in all of us.
Yeah, because we see it quite a lot where the man will come home, they've suppressed all their emotion all day, don't want to talk to the mates about it, going to get fixed, whatever. Partner says, what's happened? What's wrong? Nothing. What's happened? What's wrong? Nothing. What's happened? Nothing. All right, you don't need to snap. And then they'll just go insular and they'll become even more quiet. And they'll just hold back even more, than the partner gets frustrated. However, again, massively stereotyping here. Well, I wouldn't say stereotyping, I'd just say experience of the clients we've worked with. Typically, then the man does speak, and then the partner's like, do I want to be with someone that feels like that? It's not very attractive. Like, where's the assertion gone? Like, where's the drive gone? Where's the passion gone? You know, that's what happened with me with my past relationship. As soon as I started showing vulnerability, see ya, she was out the door.
But it's so strange, isn't it? Because, like, And I have this conversation when I date and in relationships, and I love a masculine man. Like, I'm always attracted, if you ask any of my friends, it's always like 6 foot plus rugby players with beards and tattoos. Like, that's just the type of people that I tend to attract. So they're like overtly masculine in how they present themselves. But if they can't show emotional intelligence and be a little bit vulnerable with me, then it's not going to work, because I need that ability for us to open up and communicate our feelings, because otherwise it's got a shelf life, hasn't it? It's never going to last if you can't be your 100% authentic self. Someone shouldn't have to be masculine all of the time. They shouldn't have to lead all of the time. A relationship should be balanced, and you know, I find it quite difficult. I'm absolutely a feminist, but I definitely feel like there's a misconception that, you know, you can't be a feminist that's also feminine. And actually, I like to be around a guy that will take the lead, and I will sort of become the more submissive follower. I like that. I like to be able to embrace his masculinity and to embrace my femininity. But if something's going on for him and he needs me to take the lead for a while, I'm 100% comfortable doing that. And I think that tends to make relationships a lot more healthy, knowing, because you need to be a team. It's like any good relationship is, I heard this once, I can't tell you who told me, but any good relationship is like an egg timer, and neither side should ever run empty. You know, it's a good one, isn't it?
It is good. That's why we do a lot of work in the love languages with our clients, you know, understanding, and we challenge them to go and sit down and have that conversation with their partner, go through the love languages model.
I've actually been asked that by guys that I've been like dated, and I'm like, oh, I love that you're asking this question, because I haven't really always given it too much thought. And then I actually I did the online quizzes or something. I was like, oh, mine's acts of service. I like all of them, but acts of service, because I'm an only parent and I'm the boss in my businesses and I'm constantly doing things. I don't want to be always making the decisions and doing everything myself. So when someone comes in and like mows the lawn for me or just empties the dishwasher, I'm like, oh, this is one thing off my mental load. I love this. It makes me feel so good. It's so simple, but yeah, I'm not really a romantic gestures kind of girl. I'm like, just empty the dishwasher for me and make me a coffee. I'm putty in your hands.
Yeah, it's thinking about you in that moment.
Yeah, that for me is romance.
Life easier, correct.
Yeah. I don't need bunches of flowers all the time and expensive gifts. I need you to think about what would make my life easier.
Yes. And that's it. And it's knowing that, because most people love others the way that they want to be loved. Yeah. So someone that might love touch, and you come home after a hard day and they go, oh, I know, do you want a massage? And you're like, yeah. And they're like, what do you mean? Yeah. And they're like, well, because it's really important to them, but it's not as important to you. Yeah. Whereas if you did come home and the lawn is mowed and the dishwasher's empty and the bins are taken out and whatever, that's probably going to bring you closer to the guy, right?
Yeah, and 100%.
And some men go to me, what? So I just take the bin out, then the missus wants to get with me more? Yes. Categorically, yes, 100%.
If she comes downstairs in the morning, you've got the Hoover in your hand, she's going to be all over you.
Yeah, here we fucking go. Get the Henry out. And
I'm the same. I'm at acts of service. If the house is I call it the environment, the ship. Yeah. It's not a ship, it's a house. The ship has to sail well, and it sails well when we have order or chaos, but when there's order, it goes well. But if the act of service in the house is clean, and
I'm training my son to do that. He's pretty good. He'll do lots of different chores around the house now, and he knows, like, I've explained to him, we are a team. You and you're now old enough to be part of that team, so you need to start taking responsibility around the house, because I have this dread, and I've dated a fair few examples of men who don't know how to take care of themselves or a house, and they're just looking for a replacement mum. And I'm refusing to raise a son like that. Like, he will know how to empty a dishwasher and use a washing machine and cook for himself 100%. He's not going to become a woman's extra child.
Someone who doesn't know how to fry an egg.
Yeah, exactly. So I wanted to also just getting close to finishing, talk about the work that you do for the charity that you mentioned earlier. Could you just tell us a little bit more about that, and why is it so close to your heart?
So I'm actually going back out there with my son next week. So next Friday we're going back out to Moldova. When the Ukrainian war broke out in February 2022, I saw some stuff on the news, and there was a woman around my age with a small boy at a train station, all huddled up like they were running away. She left her husband fighting in Ukraine, and she was crossing the border. And it kept me up all night. And I don't know why it was particularly. I think it was because I just saw myself in her and thought, she's just a normal person. This could literally happen to anyone. And I really had so many nightmares that night that it was me and my son. And I woke up on the Saturday morning and I thought, I'm going to do something. I've got this big presence. I can absolutely do something. I don't know what. And I decided I was going to do a LinkedIn webinar for £30 a person. And within 2 hours, I had it set up on Calendly and I was selling tickets. And then I recruited a couple of other amazing LinkedIn trainers from across the world who also were up for helping. But I needed somewhere to direct the funds to. And I was chatting to one of my friends on WhatsApp, telling him I was going to do this. And I said, but I need someone on the ground. I don't want to donate it to the Red Cross. I don't want it to go to Oxfam. I want it to go to someone who's actually on the ground making impact, where I know all of the money is going to help people right there and then. And he said, oh, you need to see Chris Lomas. And Chris Lomas had been working in Moldova for several years. And for anyone that doesn't know, Moldova's the poorest country in Europe, and it's got an 80% of people there live in poverty, live below the poverty line. Yeah, it's horrific. And they welcomed 90,000 Ukrainian refugees across the border, which is wild considering how many we welcomed in. And they're like in poverty and they're letting that many in. But Chris was actually on the border there and then, bringing in refugees, feeding them, clothing them, like keeping them warm, because it was really bloody cold in Moldova at that time of year. And I messaged him and I said, can you call me? And he called me and I said, I'm sending money. I'm doing this fundraiser. I need bank details to transfer money to. And he was just like, oh my God, this is amazing. And within, I think like the first hour of me announcing it on LinkedIn, I'd sold like £2,000 worth of tickets. The money went into my Stripe account. I had it in my business account anyway, so I just transferred it straight to Chris. And they were out there buying microwaves, food, fuel, washing machines to wash the refugees' clothes. And we went on to raise, I think, £90,000 with that webinar in the space of like a couple of weeks.
Fuck, that's amazing.
We got PR from it, but literally I was sending like a couple of £1,000s every hour that day, and it was just going up and up and up, and I was just transferring it constantly. My bank transactions at that point would have looked hilarious.
The account was like, what's going on here?
And they were just like, oh, just like, what the hell? And so then I wanted to capitalize, so I got PR involved, and it was dubbed LinkedIn Live Aid and was put on some business pages and things like that. So many people shared it. We sold so many tickets. We actually needed to bring in a company who donated their time to manage it, because we had like 1,000 people on the live. And then we sold the recording as well, so we continued to make more money. And then the following January, I went out to Moldova and I'd continued to do fundraising events. The Christmas networking parties that I do, and the summer ones that I've done in the past, we donate any profits to Hope For. I've continued to raise the brand. They invited me to be a trustee and then put me on the board of directors as well. And so I've been out there. Next week will be my third time. My son came out with me last time. He's coming out again. So he gets involved. He helps out with deliveries to the refugees. He's been and sat at dinner with the British ambassador and the Ukrainian ambassador. And the work that they do, like, they work tirelessly. That team out there are incredible. We climbed Kilimanjaro in January together and raised about £60,000 as well, which was incredible. I didn't get to the top, full disclosure. I'm not very good with altitude, as it turns out. Grey sea legs, terrible with altitude. So I didn't make it to the top, but everybody else did. And it was, well, that was the worst experience I've ever had in my life. But like, don't climb Kilimanjaro. But being able to do it for a purpose was, you know, being able to support this charity. And every penny that they raise goes on impact, because the founders, they don't take a wage. They're privately funded. Their life is privately funded. So nothing from the donations, where, you know, a lot of the big charities, if you donate £1, maybe 5 to 15 pence goes to impact.
Percentage,
It's ridiculous. And you've got directors sitting at the top there with like £1 million salaries. Like, fair enough, like, that they get a decent salary for running a big company, but it doesn't sit well with me. It doesn't feel good. And Chris and Zoe don't take a wage. They're privately funded, and the impact that they make, you know, I'll go to the warehouse and there'll be 600 refugees outside waiting in a queue in minus degrees for their food packages and for nappies for their baby and wipes. And
different world, isn't it?
Yeah, there was one lady that worked, so she had 4 boys, and her husband had been imprisoned for 4 years in Moldova for stealing a jar of honey. And it
4
only
years.
because his kids were starving, right? So she spends every day with her 4 boys, like being mum, and then at night when the kids are asleep all in one bed in this tiny little room, she will shell walnuts, big sacks full of walnuts, and she'll make about £80 every 2 weeks from doing that 5-6 nights a week. So she sleeps barely anything. She's an amazing woman. Her name's Oksana, and I privately donate to her still. And she's the most beautiful woman and the most beautiful kids. They're so well cared for, well educated. She takes such good care of them. But her husband's in prison still for another few years. But they managed to buy her a house. They managed to fund buying her an actual house, which they'll help to get done up. And another lady that escaped 8 years of domestic violence, she's only 23. She's got 3 kids that were covered in flea bites, that were dining on boiled seeds. And I couldn't cope. Like, I actually had to leave the room because that one broke me. But they put her through beauty school and got her a job as a nail, like in a beauty salon, and now she can provide for her kids. Wow. And she never has to go back to that abusive relationship. And like, they're actually out there making connections with these people and changing their lives. And the more we can support them, the more corporate sponsors we can get, the better. But it's amazing what they're doing.
It really puts that getting stuck in traffic tale into perspective, doesn't it? You know, people moan about shit like that.
I struggled. I did struggle the first time I came back from it. I struggled with my own privilege. I came back and there was someone on the in the airplane queue leaving Kishnau, and she was getting irate about the wait. And I just wanted to punch her in the head and be like, for God's sakes, at least you're getting out of this godforsaken country. Like, it was a Moldovan woman. I was like, "Ugh." and I actually spoke to my therapist when I got back, and I was like, I just feel mad at everyone. And he said, remember, people can drown in a puddle as much as they can drown in the ocean. And I was like, okay, I get your point. Yeah. But it took me a while to adjust back, like feeling guilty for all that I have, but just drove me more to want to help them more.
Have you got any links that you can share with us?
Yeah, it's hope4.org.
Amazing.
We'll put them in the show notes.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
What's next for you, and where can people find more about you?
I'm not doing LinkedIn. By the time this goes out, I'll probably have filled all my last LinkedIn training spots, so don't bother with that one. I still have a digital course if you're desperate to learn about LinkedIn from me, but my main focus is on the HALT, which is my membership community, growing that, and the Vault, which is the light membership just to the masterclasses. And that from 2025 is my sole focus. I do consultancy for community, people who want to grow a community or maybe are struggling with their community growth, or they're thinking of launching one. I do consultancy calls for that, but it's fully all in on the membership community and growing that from now on, and being able to have a little bit more time in my life, so I'm not in my office quite as many hours as I have been over the last 5 years, and a little bit more freedom to maybe try other things that I don't have an idea of what those are. I've just launched my own podcast, so that's going really, really well. We've just launched the first 2 episodes, so I'm looking forward to doing more on that, to sort of raise the HALT brand rather than the Leah Turner brand, and grow that to be the main focus, so that the team can take more responsibility, and we can help many, many, many more small business owners to not feel alone and to learn the skills that they need to make their business better without having to fork out loads of money to potentially not great coaches or not great digital courses before they can really even afford to do it. So
amazing.
Yeah,
awesome.
That's 2025
Love
looking
that.
Exciting.
And finally, what does being on your A game mean to you?
Oh my God. So for me, with ADHD, I'm a real chaotic person. I don't have like structure and routine in any part of my life, really. But for me, like when I've slept really well and I've had a nice Nootropics coffee in the morning.
I have that. I had one this morning.
Yeah. London Nootropics is my favourite one.
Which flavour?
The Mojo one.
I had that this morning.
Yeah, that's my favourite. And it tastes so good.
It is,
it's so
With
good.
a bit of milk in, not too much though.
Oat milk, yeah. So that's like my morning thing to wake my brain up, and a couple of vitamin D tablets as well. That seems to help. And having a day with no calls, that's when I'm on my A game. Like I can sit and I'll put like classical music on in my, like really quiet classical music in my office.
I do that sometimes.
And like a scented candle, and I'll sit there and I'll just be like, right, I can get on with pushing the business forward, because I'm terrible when I've got calls. I'm like, I'll sit there in waiting mode for the call and I won't be able to focus on anything very well. So yeah, like my A game is when I get a full day of being creative. Maybe I don't have to pick my son up till a bit later, and I'm just like, right, I can just get stuck in and not be distracted by my phone or emails and things like that. Those are my A game days.
Amazing. Yeah, classical music or jazz for me, because it's when it doesn't have lyrics.
Yeah, I can't have anything with the lyrics in it, because then my head starts dancing to the lyrics.
And then when I'm writing copy, I can't have lyrics because then the words from that's going into my copy. So I just need
songs.
Or classical music or whatever.
I love getting into the zone. If I've got no client calls, and I'm building a new funnel page, because when I'm not coaching, I'm the tech guy. My background's tech.
Are you?
Yeah, right. So I'm like funnels and integration, Zapier and all that. I'm like, right, let's go.
See, I can't do the Zapier, but I love the figuring out. So if they get that email, then we want an email that sells that thing, and then we want another email that sells that thing. If they click, I like doing those puzzles, but the actual setting it up, no. I would absolutely get it all wrong.
That's me.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much for coming on today.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.